Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel, and today in this video I'm going to talk about a package which I recently discovered during my Python development endeavor. So this package, as the name suggests, Tenacity, is a way for you to literally not give up on anything that you want to try. When I looked at this package, the first thing that came to my mind is the ability to retry certain APIs or even some actions in your application when it fails for the first time. Now, things do happen. I have seen multiple instances where there are some APIs which are not very reliable. You may make a call, it will fail for the first time, or maybe it is not available, and then you make a second call, and most of the time you get a success. Now, to build this mechanism on your own, there are certain challenges. For example, you will need to have a mechanism of waiting for some time before the attempt. You should have a mechanism to capture how many attempts you have made. And if you want to retry, there should be some exponential backoffs required so that you can give the other API some time to get back. And this package has all those qualities which will allow you to get this behavior in your application with very easy code. So let's get started and let's understand how we can use this package. Now the question is, how do we understand how this package works? Well, we need to have a situation where we have to fail something so that this package can retry. If you have a success, what is the point of retrying, right? So I will show you the current setup that I have. Okay, I have a Laravel application where I created an API. Now, if you are not aware of Laravel, don't get stressed. Just need to ignore that. Imagine it's just an API running on localhost 8000. Okay, so let me show you. I have this API on localhost 8000. This is my main application welcome page, and this is my sample. Now, whenever someone hits this page, I have logged I was here. So if you see, I have one entry of I was here. So no matter how many times you call this page, you will have one log entry. So this is how I am going to ensure that I'm able to track how many times the API was called, and I am returning a status code of 500. Now, this is required because what I want to do is simulate a situation where we are making an API call through our Python application. The Python application gets a status code of 500 and then we throw an error. Okay, so now let's go back to our Python code and see what we have over here. I'll run this application, which Python, just to see where am I right now. Yes, this is correct. So I will do uvcon main app reload blah blah blah. So now the application is running on port 8001. I can go to that application, and if I hit docs of the fast API application, I reach this Swagger documentation, and this is the API that we are going to work with, Tenacity. Okay, it just makes a get call, and then let's understand what we have on this API. Okay, so on this API, what I'm doing first is print trying attempts. Okay, so whenever you hit this API, the Python API, on the terminal, you will see I hit print trying attempts. Okay, then for the purpose of the demo, what I have done is I have created these functions which will allow us to demonstrate the different behaviors of this package. So the first one is call API with retry. Okay, let's go into that. And we can see there is a decorator on top of our definition or our function called retry. Now, I have this available because if I go on top, you will see from Tenacity, I have imported quite a few things. And these are the things that I'm going to demo you. But this decorator, you need to understand, is part of that particular package. What does it give us? It gives us sleep, stop, wait, retry, before, after, before sleep, re-raise, and many other things. For now, what we will do is rely on three main keys from there. One is the stop, okay? And as the name suggests, it allows you to define when the retry will stop. It is very important because you can't just go on retrying for eternity, right? There has to be an end, otherwise it's an infinite loop. That attributes, this function and many other functions are available with the Tenacity package, which allows you to define when you should stop. The other important thing is this re-raise. Now, if you go over here and maybe I will just try and look for the documentation if they have done that in a better way. Let me see. Maybe not. Okay. So the re-raise is a way for you to say that if there is an exception in this particular function, right? You raise it up, you raise it above so that someone who is calling that function, the retry, is also getting that exception. Okay. So I have kept it as the first in the first, and I think on all the tries that I have. But anyways, I have kept it as is. Okay. Now, let's understand what is happening over here. So I'm saying that you should stop, and you should stop after 5 attempts. You can number it anything, but what I am saying over here is that you should stop after X number of attempts, which is a very typical behavior. So I'll save this, come over here into my logs. I will clean it up. Yes, this is clean. Now I'll go here and say try it out and execute. Now over here I got a 500, which is fine now because that is what I expected. And in my API I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 logs are here, which basically means that my API was called 5 times. Okay, if I change it to 3, hit save and execute again. Go to my API logs, you can see there are only 3 logs. So this is how we can retry our API calls. Now this is fine, but the thing is, we really don't do retry just like that. Okay, many times you may do that, but typically I would want to stop and then retry. Okay, so this is where the second one, which is we should stop after a delay of 5 seconds, which means it will retry for quite a few times, but then after 5 seconds it will stop. So if you see this function, it says class stop after delay and time unit type. Okay, that's the delay. Okay, so let's try it out. My log file is clear and I will execute. It is waiting for some time, and after ideally 5 seconds it has stopped. But can you see the number of logs that I have? So it is 610 entries, which means it called the API 610 times in that 5 seconds. Now, obviously, this is really not the way you would want to ping any API. There is a good possibility they will ban you. They will give you a rate limit exception or something like that. But the main thing is, if you see 13, 47, 13. 13 is the second, and it is ending somewhere at 18. So this is basically 5 seconds. Okay. So there's a delay of 5 seconds. After that, it will stop. All right. But honestly, this is not exactly how I would like to, make the call. So let's just say the API that you have is there's a sleep, or I would say there is a delay. Okay, and I will introduce that. So what happens is, because of the delay, what you are saying is, see, you can't keep polling that API. Your request is on. You are constantly, you have created that thread where the work is going on, and ideally what you can do is you can say that stop after 3 seconds. Okay, but if there is a delay of about 10 seconds, then just stop. Okay, so what I will do is stop after a delay of 10. Right. Yeah, let's do that. My log file is clear. I will execute again. And what do you think has happened? Yes, 3 attempts. Okay, 3 attempts and it stopped. Or it would have delayed till 10. So maybe what I can do is, so we got about 610 requests in 3 seconds, right? So if I do 2 and this as 600, let's see what happens. Okay, I'll clear this and I will execute 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And what we have is 59, 57. So it didn't go till 600, right? Although I have told it that your stop attempt can be 600, but it stopped after 2 seconds. So that is one thing which you can play around with. And this is very important for you on APIs where you know that their responses are slow. Okay, so you don't want to. Maybe you want to attempt it, maybe twice or thrice, but you say that if you have gone more than 10 seconds, just finish it off. It won't work for me. Okay. Even for that matter, let's just say in this API, right, I have this sleep, right? So I will switch it on. What sleep function does in PHP is it will wait for a second before it continues to execute. So I'm adding a delay. Okay, if you're not familiar with PHP. So I'm adding the delay. So now what will happen is if I go back, 1, 2, 3. All right. Now let's see. What do we have over here? I have only 2 logs. Why? Because I have said that stop after a delay of 2 seconds. So no matter how many times I have mentioned here, any condition which is successful will result in a stop. Okay? Perfect. Now let me clear this file. Let me remove this sleep. Maybe I'll keep this, and then we will move on to the next one, which is wait and retry. And this is important because let's look at the logic. I mean, if an API is failing, okay, there is a good possibility that it is failing because of a reason. So for example, if you see that your status code resembles rate limiting, okay, now if you have reached a rate limiting, does it even make sense to make an API call again? No, right? Because typically I have seen that many service providers will allow you 60 requests, 50 requests in a second, and sometimes even heavy requests will have 10, 3. You don't know. So making so many API calls is not going to make your life easy. So you need to stop or you need to wait. And that's why we have this thing. What does it say? It will stop after 3 attempts, but it will wait for 2 seconds after every time. Let's see. I have this in here. I have my logs clear and I will hit execute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. So what happened? Let's look at the log. I have at 22, 25, 28. Why? Well, I waited for 2 seconds and then I tried. And then again I waited 2 seconds and I made this 3 attempts, which means if I again do this 5, I'll have to wait for a longer time. But yeah, let's understand the concept, right? So what will happen is it will wait once after it has made the API call for those many seconds, and then it will try again, and then again it will wait. For every retry it will wait for that much time. So you can see I have 5 log, this is 6 log entries from 3 to 15, right? So yeah, that's the way it is incrementally going through your time. But the last one is the most important and interesting one. Okay, I will go over here, I'll comment it out, and this is exponential retry. So now what happens? Well, let me do one thing. I will first show you the output and then we will talk about it. So I'll start here, come over here. The first log was at 57, then 00, then 03. Now, it doesn't come at 06, it comes at 08, so 5 seconds. Now, what should happen? Let's see. From 8, it went to 17. So, we are talking about 7 plus 2, 9 seconds, right? And then it has stopped, right? So, there are 5 entries, okay, because my stop is after 5 attempts, but this wait exponential, what it does is it increases the time between requests incrementally. So which basically means from my first request to the second request, there was a delay of 3 seconds, then another 3 seconds, then it increased by 5, and then it increased by 9. So it is incrementing exponentially. And believe me, on production, ideally, you will have something like this. You would want to relax your API calls if you are finding a failure. I mean, let's be honest, it is quite possible that the service provider whom you are calling may be doing a deployment and there's a downtime, right? So there's no point banging that API again and again and making your life worse and even your API provider's life worse, right? So this is how you can exponentially increase the time so that you are able to relax and you already have a chilled way of making the API calls, and you also have a limit at how many times you would want to call. So overall, I see that this package has a lot to offer. It's a great way of building a resilient, or you can say an API which has the tenacity to never give up, because this package allows us to call certain things or that function again and again with certain conditions to meet. So yeah, that's about it, guys. That's what I wanted to cover in this video. I really like this package and I see a lot of use cases out of it. Tell me what is your feeling about this package and how you have used it or you are planning to use it. Drop a comment below. If you like this video, then do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.